been said that we are in World War III, and I believe that to be true. But the question is, who is the enemy in World War III? I don't believe that the enemy is, some made-up boogeyman like what we see or hear being said on the controlled, on the Jesuit-controlled mass media. It's not these. I don't believe it's ISIS basically, or Al-Nusra Front, or Boko Haram. I believe that those organizations are actually being used to kill those who are actually being deemed as the enemy in World War III. Now, what I've said so far might be confusing to some of you, but if you understand that Al Qaeda, ISIS, Al Nusra Front, and Boko Haram these are all creations of the CIA and Mossad, then you understand what I mean. I think that we've got plenty of evidence now in 2025 that these organizations were created by the CIA. And if you look at, what happened in Syria is very interesting. That when President Assad and his government were in power, the United States and some of the Western or European countries were against the government in Syria. But then when Assad and his family fled, and the government in Syria collapsed, and these terrorists then took over. I forget who's the name of the so-called president is right now in Syria, but what I know is he was working for, I think he was in Al-Nusra Front, and which, like I already said, that was a creation of the CIA. And but the important point I wanted to make is that Syria was put on sanctions by the U.S. government when the Assad government was still in power. But when that government collapsed and was removed from power, where these terrorists that came in and took over, and then the sanctions were removed, it's very clear that these are organizations that were funded and supported by the U.S. And created by the U.S. through the CIA. So the enemy is not those organizations that I've mentioned. It's the enemy basically. I'll tell you right now is humanity as a whole, and I'll give you some evidence of that. So in a book called The Limits to Growth, which was produced, it says it's a report for the Club of Rome's project on the predicament of mankind. Mankind is not in any predicament. All these problems that are going on around the world, whether it be adverse weather events such as hurricanes and flooding and even earthquakes. It's been said that a lot of these events, and I'm talking about extreme weather events, and I'm not saying all of them, but some of them are actually geoengineered, and geoengineering basically is a manipulation of the weather. So, excuse me, they'll say that mankind is causing all these issues. But let me read for you what it says on page 104, 105 of Limits to Growth. It says, in searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers, of course, will be caused by human intervention that will require a global response. Okay, they created a perpetual environment crisis or crises, and this will result in mankind being totally enslaved, because the solution to so-called climate change and all these water shortages and everything environment related is actually a political one. It's to do with laws being introduced that will control and track and trace human beings at all hours of the day, such as what's happening in China through the carbon credit system and the digital IDs and stuff like that, which is obviously coming up on the world. I think everyone knows that now, unless you're living in a cave. But it also says here, this is also from the Club of Rome, which is a think tank, and the name itself is interesting. Club of Rome. It's obviously Rome is the fourth kingdom upon the world. It is the one that is in control now, although it hides behind various organizations. But anyway, they say here, the common enemy of humanity is man. You see that the common enemy of humanity is man. In searching for a new enemy to unite us, we came up with the idea that pollution, the threat of global warming, water shortages, famine, and the like would fit the bill. All these dangers are caused by human intervention, and it is only through changed attitudes and behavior that they can be overcome. The real enemy, listen to this, the real enemy then is humanity itself. So that's why I said the enemy in World War III is humanity itself. They're the ones we are seen as the enemy by all these organizations, whether it be the Jesuits, the papacy itself, the WEF, the Club of Rome, all these secret society, the Masons, and the other organizations which are pushing for a new world order. They see us as the enemy. So I'm going to read you some quotes as well from well-known characters, some of whom have died, but they made it very clear that mankind was the problem. Okay, so I'm showing all this to show you what the real agenda was behind the scamdemic, and who was ultimately behind the scamdemic, and like I'm saying, yeah, what the real issue or what the ultimate goal was. So here we have Julian Huxley, who was the brother to Aldous Huxley. He said the human race will be the cancer of the planet. And Prince Philip was the husband of Queen Elizabeth II. He said, in the event that I am reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus in order to contribute something to solve overpopulation. And the late Henry Kissinger said, depopulation should be the highest priority of foreign policy towards the third world. Depopulation is mentioned twice so far. And then Ted Turner, who was the founder of CNN, which is just basically a propaganda news outlet, some say controlled by the CIA. He said overpopulation is the cause of drive-by shootings and other social ills, but the root of the problem is Christianity, which posits that people are more important than sea otters and elephants. Yes, the Bible does say that God gave dominion to mankind. Okay, I'll just go to very quickly the book of Genesis and I'll show you that. Okay, if you go to Genesis 1:26, it says, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air. But you see the word dominion there, yeah? Dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over the cattle and over all the earth and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And then in verse 28, and God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So God did give dominion to people, to mankind. But of course, these Satanists go against everything that God has said. So if God gave dominion to mankind, they will say that man doesn't have dominion over the earth, and that nature or the environment is above mankind. This is what Ted Turner was saying here. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. He also said again, this is Ted Turner. He said a total population of 250 to 300 million people, a 95% reduction from present levels would be ideal. I wonder if he would like to put himself in front of a firing squad and be the first one to go. I doubt that very much. And then the late David Rockefeller said the negative impact of population growth on all of our planetary ecosystems is becoming appallingly evident. See, they're more concerned about the environment than they are about human beings. And then Boris Johnson said the world's population is now 6.7 billion. roughly double what it was when I was born. If I live to be in my mid-80s, then it will have trebled in my lifetime. I simply cannot understand why no one discusses this impending calamity, and why no world statesmen have the guts to treat the issue with the seriousness it deserves. We seem to have given up on population control. No, they haven't given up on population control. They're doing it through various means, and even through the scamdemic and the poison dart. Okay. So those are the quotes I wanted to read from you from various characters, and there are some others which I haven't read, where very well known, famous or infamous people, even Bill Gates has made some statements about so-called overpopulation, which is a myth. There's no such thing as overpopulation. Okay, it's just they are going against what God has said. God has said, "Be fruitful and multiply," and they're going against that. There's no God said, "Be fruitful and multiply," and He has never said that the world is overpopulated and that we need to stop having children. He never said that. But they will say these things to discourage people from having children, because it is, in case someone is asking, but why would they want to depopulate the earth? That's very evil. Yes, the reason is it's easier to control a small number of people than it is to control a large population. And also when human beings also use resources, and the merchants of the earth who are spoken about in Revelation 18, they want the resources for themselves so they can make money from them. So the larger the earth's population is, it is seen to be using up resources which these merchants and the rich men and women of the earth want for themselves. They are very greedy, basically, and they also seek to control mankind. Ultimately, it's the devil they are working for, and the devil wants to believes in mind control, whereas God gives us choice. Okay, so just getting back to the issue of the scamdemic and who are really behind that. Well, now if you now understand that mankind is the enemy, then it will make more sense. What I'm going to say next will make more sense. Okay, so the scamdemic was, there were 2 or 3 main issues. Remember, these guys they killed two or three or more birds with one stone. Okay, so the first one was about the depop agenda, which I've already read about. They want to depopulate the earth, and they did that through the poke, and because remember that some of the darts were made by different companies. So you had Pfizer, Moderna, and BioNTech, and Johnson & Johnson, and others. I think I've left out maybe 2 or 3 others. There were about 5 or 6 main pharmaceutical companies that were involved in making vaccines, and these vaccines had different effects. Okay, they not all the vaccines were the same. Okay, some of them had different effects for different purposes. So some of them were made for the purpose of depopulation. Excuse me, I'm still not feeling very well, still coughing a bit, so just forgive me if I continue to cough on the video. Remember that they spoke clearly. I read clearly for you guys that they said they want to depopulate the earth, and they have been doing that for a long time, by producing GMO food, which causes cancer, by putting poison called fluoride in the water, and by sterilization, which is one of the things that the poke does. It can also sterilize, and that would be the second reason for the poison darts. First one, depopulation. Second one, sterilization. Third one, transhumanism, by injecting nanotech through the poke, so that mankind can fit into the internet of things with the rest of the technology that's been produced nowadays. Also like the smartphones, even like the one I'm using, smart cars, smart homes, smart fridges, smart kettle, smart this and that, smart TVs, and all these things are supposed to talk to each other. So mankind will fit into the Internet of Things by having nanotech injected into them. But the question I'm asking in this video is, who was ultimately behind the scamdemic? The answer is that it's the Jesuits and the Catholic Church. Okay. And they want this, but the goal for them would have been the same as what I've already said. Okay. And how exactly was it done? It was done. The scamdemic was being run by the Department of Defense in America, which is an arm of the military-industrial complex, and the military-industrial complex and all armies and military around the world are run by the Jesuits, ultimately by, and the person at the tippy top is the Jesuit general. He's a general. That means he's running an army. Okay, not only an army of Jesuits, but he's arming the military. And unfortunately, I used to be in the military in the UK before I understood all these things. All the armies around the world and terrorist organizations are run by the Jesuits, and especially by the Jesuit general. He's the one who gives out commands. Okay, so it's been exposed that this pandemic was actually a psychological operation that was run by the Department of Defense in the US. So for those who took part thinking that there was this pandemic, that there's actually no such thing as a pandemic. There's no disease that goes all around the world. I mean, that's just fiction. Okay, you read that in novels. Okay, that doesn't happen in real life. So if you took part believing that there was a pandemic, I'm sorry that you believe that, but hopefully next time you won't be deceived. Remember that Jesus warned us 4 times in Matthew 24 verse 4, 5, 11 and 24, I think. He warned us 4 times anyway that there's going to be a deception. Deception will be the name of the game, basically. So if you took part in that, I'm sorry for you. And I would say to you, that was a very cowardly thing to do. But next time, please don't take part in these psychological operations. Next time, it might not be a so-called scamdemic. It might be something else. Just have your eyes open to what's going on. Don't take part in it. The winning move basically is not to take part. Don't take part. Okay, in what everybody else is doing. So now we have digital IDs coming in, and some of you even listen to this video. Even though I'm telling you that you shouldn't take part, God has said we should not. Don't comply with your own slavery. Some of you will still go ahead and take part because you're scared. Yet we've been told not to be scared. Be thou faithful unto death, and God will give you a crown of life. Stop taking part in all these psychological operations that lead to your own enslavement and the enslavement of your own children and grandchildren. So that's who was really in charge of the scamdemic. It was the Department of Defense that really ran the operation, but the Department of Defense is under the control of the Jesuit order, and especially the Jesuit general. He's the general of an army. Okay, so he's the one really pulling the strings. So I didn't come here with a file full of evidence because I don't want to be spoon feeding you guys information. I'm just giving you enough information for you to go and do your own research. Okay, don't believe everything I say. Go and research it for yourself, and you find that what I'm saying is true. So that's what I wanted to share. Maybe it will. I kind of have shared this in other videos, but maybe this will, for someone who's maybe hearing this for the first time, it will help answer them some questions as to why certain things are happening. So the same things that were done to us during this pandemic are now being prepared again with the digital ID and the CBDCs. The same governments that have told us lies about weapons of mass destruction, and I personally risked my life to go to Iraq based on a lie, to invade another country which had not caused me or others any harm. All that was based on a lie. And then the same governments that lied about weapons of mass destructions and lied about 9/11 and lied about the Gulf of Tonkin, or lied about World War I and World War II, and lied about the ozone layer and they're lying about climate change. They're the same ones that pretended that they cared about us. I mean, governments are. It's been said that governments kill more people than any other institution. So why would you believe anything they say? They lie every day. So what makes you think that during this pandemic that they were telling the truth, or that they're telling the truth about the digital ID? If you want to believe that stuff, that's up to you. Stay in your comfort bubble and believe the lie if you want. But I'm just telling you the truth, that it will lead to your own enslavement. So I hope it was helpful for those who are receptive to the truth. And thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.